They love stone. The feel of it, the touch of it, the smell of it. One and all, welcome back to B versus Wham semifinals. We got Lancaster up against All the Dragon, a matchup which I think is going to be a testament to 2TC versus Mana. Yeah, interesting thought here because B on House Lancaster, it feels like every game, even when they don't want to go Manas, they end up with them. While Wham, him and his brother have a reputation for 2TC Order of the Dragon. I think they do it more than any other players. In fact, I'd say between the two of them, they do it more than every other player combined in pro play right now. Could make a lot of sense here. We've seen some civs try to answer House of Lancaster with 2TC, and I think mathematically for Order of the Dragons, it makes just a bit more sense than others. Time being though, B, it is going to be the Dark Age Rax opening. Why, you might ask? We all know why. So this is going to give him plenty of food if he needs to Castle Rush. On top of that, it is an insurance policy against Order of the Dragon, because Order of the Dragon, if you guys remember, in Season 9, i.e. Pro Scouts meta, Order of the Dragon was probably the biggest winner compared to where the win rate was before. They surged up to being like a top 6 pick from being a bottom 3. So I think part of this is rooted in B's paranoia that might happen in this game, but it also just gives him a sufficient gathering rate. In fairness, it is like a little bit weird for Lancaster to be doing this because sheep are just better. But obviously, you can only get so many sheep. Remember, with sheep, you get a 20% better gathering rate, which means you gather at 0.9 through the second, and deer by default at 0.84. Interesting matchup. I'd agree. Not one we really get to see often. Yeah, which makes sense. If you think about it, a lot of people have been leaning as House of Lancaster as almost like kind of a variant choice to go into Enlightened Horizon instead of something like Ottomans or Japanese. Whereas Order of the Dragon feels like a civ that would not be caught dead on point of interest maps at the moment. And I'd have to double check this, but I think it's because, if I'm not mistaken, Gilded units do not capture the POIs quicker than standard units. Now, don't quote me on it. Like that's my assumption as part of the reason. Because, like, in theory, like, bulking Gilded Spearmen sounds pretty damn good when you look at their stats. They are very strong. In KP at Mem, it's either a 3-hour stream or an 11-hour finals. No in between. Feels like it. Sheesh. I mean, the players we got playing today, I mean, I could easily see us getting 14, 15 games total. Okay. So Arkan coming through, but he did already commit to the mill. Interesting we got Wheelbarrow this early, but yet he didn't walk out onto the deer, but you see what it's now really about. Stone Gathering begins. It is indeed going to be a 2TC or the Dragon game. The Wheelbarrow is going to guarantee he can get across and build it quick enough, because I think he's trying to be greedy here. Yeah, like with this Spear opening, in theory it's meant to be a nice denial of like greed plays such as 2TC. But Gilded Villages are insanely tanky. And also have higher base damage than standard villages. Looks like B had to split up scouting to look for the second deer, so he has found it. We'll look to long shove it home. We do have Lancaster Castle coming, so despite the fact he's shoving double deer underneath his TC, it's still going to be Lancaster Castle spam. Forestry is the most important tech. Yeah, when you play Forest Nothing. Also, when you're a Chamber of Commerce guy. Because remember, that allows you to, get your first trader out efficiently. What was the predictions like, by the way? 69% for B. Nice. I'm starting to think you guys just really, really want to see a Game 5. I mean, I would too. We talked about the potential Civ picks. There's some interesting matchups to finish on Coastal Cliffs with. So, second TC, it is going to be in that corner, right? Like, this is so nice. It pads to your primary TC through the tree line. It also stops 360 rotations on you later on. Instead, whoop. No, he's going to go wider instead. Okay, he goes across to the deer. In fairness, I see. Wham doesn't actually know that this deer is here. Yeah, he got like a very fortuitous spawn. Double deer back is pretty nice here. Is this just going to be FC? I mean, B right now has got 6 on gold, 11 on food. And he is doing the deer. Plus, he's going to have survival techniques coming. Yeah, this is FC. And I really dig that. We've seen a lot of FC Lancaster against these greedy plays like 2TC. And it is oppressive how impressive it is. The dagger throws are really good at getting kills. But that's against normal villages. I haven't seen anyone try this against Gilded villages where it takes extra dagger throws. Because remember, the Earl's Guard that Lancaster gets, they do 17 damage with a dagger throw from the White Tower build. Which means 3 of them will do 51 damage. So you need to get a 4th in there to kill a villager from the Gilded side. Also, on top of that, because Order of the Dragon builds villages slower, they're more space efficient when it comes to garrisoning. And then things like the repairs, etc. So, like, in theory, anyway, it should be a bit harder for Lancaster to bust this TC. Not to mention the repairs on top of that all. I guess maybe the flexibility here is, like, you could technically do King's College. Because what's your opponent got? And that gives you some malleability down the line. Like, if you start seeing heavy cav, you can go into your own with the Collar of S's to get the plus armor. Or you can just play things like Gilded crossbow versus Yeoman, where Yeoman can at least range the same as those crossbows. I mean, let's be totally real, though, right? It's going to be White Tower. 1's in chat if you think it's White Tower. 2's if you think it's King's College. I'm trying to think if there's a tech that would make sense for King's College. Maybe Hobblars? Hobblars is kind of sick if you think your opponent's going to do Gilded Crossbows. And boom, there it is. King's College coming in at 7 minutes 20. Have we actually seen this before? I feel like this is a first, at least in like the last few weeks. Maybe someone done it as an experiment when the game first came out. But, like, what's the reasoning, right? Like, your opponent's gone 2TC. You would have expected White Tower for the rush point. I think B just understood that, like we were mentioning for the different variables, it's going to be very hard to get kills. He can still play into those Allsguard. It's just he can now get some flexibility afterwards. And we are getting the stables drop. Yeah, and before you look at this go, GG, man. It's 2TC Order of the Dragon. What's B got? B actually has quite a few things on offer here. He got Pro Scouts for a 5-finger discount. Remember, he shoved double deer stack with free spearmen from the racks. That's insane savings. Like, that's crazy savings. Pro Scouts normally itself is 450 resources. You've already saved enough there, even after the expenses of the racks and the spears. But then on top of that, there's relics. Nice to open up with. Wham is going to hunker down. And those relics we just mentioned is exactly what B is now rushing for. Other interesting thing is, even though B hasn't built manners yet, doesn't mean he won't build manners ever. There's not really much to stop him from just building them in a minute or two. Right? Because like in a minute or two, he'll have all the relics, bar 1. And then Wham, for now, is quite content in his corner. But when you look at what he's walled in, there's actually like not that much gold for Order of the Dragon here. And Order of the Dragon is a gold-thirsty civ. Spear spam on the way from Wham, though, is going to be marching out. Necessity now for sure, but probably doesn't feel good to have to build Spearman against Lancaster. I think it's because he knows with this type of build there won't be any Yeoman yet. But it's almost like you're just begging to get counterplayed here. Remember, Yeoman are one of the best spear counters in the game. Wham walls. But he'll try to assure me that everyone has to wall. I think that was the best part when I confronted him on this. I was like, Wham, you really like your walls. And he's just like, yeah, man, like everyone has to wall though. Like it's not just me. And then we get games where we'll just watch him always be the first to wall. In this one, it makes sense. Like your opponent has gone for an FC build. You went 2TC. The walls are just fully understandable. But yeah, it always makes me chuckle. It's just like when he says like he doesn't like the mangonels and springolds and how they work. He does it because other people have to. And I will say that like Wham is the most... I think he's the most consistent player I see use the mangonel roost defense after like greedily attacking. He does it very well, by the way. Like, it's not a flame or a criticism. It's more actually like an identification of someone's comfort and actually a praise of how well they play. Burgrave, of course, pretty much mandatory these days with Order of the Dragon, especially with a build like this. You can't really justify 2 TC and Regnants. You'd have no pressure. And at this point, I think he just knows the relics are forfeited. There's going to be bare minimum 2 relics going back to B's base already. So correct call. Burgrave now will be more cost efficient than having Regnants. The problem for Wham in this game is going to be where he's getting gold. Because you can already see that this gold vein is down to 1.7k gold. Before he's even casting. He is, of course, holding 1,000 gold in reserve. But that's the thing about these golden nugget goblins. Well, I guess they'd be golden nugget orcs because they're so big. You just tend to burn through it so fast with OTD. Have you ever seen Castle Hankaneers with Burgundian imports? The only time you would have seen Burgundian imports is when I done that video of setting a world record for Agincourt. Outside that, like if you're talking about 1v1, no. No one ever goes for Burgundian imports. It's in theory very strong sounding, but the problem is too many civs have a range component nowadays for Burgundian imports to make sense. Because if you do get that tech, although you're getting the Hankaneers cheaper, they also hit for less than they would in Imperial Age, and they also have less health. Burgundian imports, to me, is a tech that makes sense when you can justify Hankaneers in the late game, full stop. Because then you're paying 510 gold to save 60 resources per HC. Which is pretty nice. Okay, so B has Knights plus Yeoman coming. And the Yeoman were already invited by the Spearman detail. And I think Yeoman can do reasonably well against Gilded Crossbows. It's not a wash of a fight, because Expos hit so hard. In fact, that's where the Inspired Warriors buff will be pretty useful for Wham. Ooh. Does get repaired. Not fully, though, so there is a gap. B. Scary thing for Wham right now is the fact that he doesn't really have much breadth protection. He's got a few units, and he can't really spread them too thin. So that's advantageous now for B. The Knights can just sliver in, go left, go right. That's when you can start reaping souls. Sing Shot being rushed by B. Now that is curious. Well, there's a lot of spears. It will give him a quick wipe on them. Also, with this many villagers, you can kind of just paint the picture of what happens with the press of one button. A lot of gold to work with here for B. One thing that's interesting is Wham is now going into Gilded Knights. Now, this is a problem because your opponent went King's College. Collar of Esses is super strong against these Knights. And the thing is, like, I think Wham is probably aware that it's King's College because he hasn't seen any Ulfscarf whatsoever. But at the same time, I guess he feels like he just needs something that can frontline for him, and Men-at-Arms against Knights is a bad idea. Like, at least with Gilded Knights, you can pull away injured parties, but if you're going to build Men-at-Arms against these Knights that will have access to Collar of Esses, you'll still die. It's just you won't be able to run away. Triple Sacred Sight also locked in. You don't really want to be popping Langschnecht out on Yeoman. Yeoman get double damage against you. It's a quick way to die. Quick way to dive here. Jumps in. Collar of Esses isn't there yet. Great timing by Wham. Spears. Need to be protected, so Gilded Knight will just keep fronting. So he's able to shove him out of the base. That was really well played, actually, by the Canadian. And Esses is still some way off. 25 seconds out. This is the nice thing about Yeoman, though. The movement speed does allow you to retreat away quite nicely. He can even try to trade out with the chasing spears. I think Wham's probably feeling like the timing is about to go against him, so he needs to be very careful. Because one of the things that I think is quite annoying with Collar Esses, I hope they change this, there's no visual indicator of when that tech comes in. It's going to Sink Shot to scare him away. Looks like it wasn't even needed to get the extra anti-armor in here. It has now completed, but the Knights have already flopped. Yeah, look at this. There's literally nothing, I think... No, there's nothing that tells you that Collar of Esses is there. I imagine this is something they'll probably fix with the next DLC. Because we talked about like the logic of why both the civs from Knights Across from Roses are variants. Is because they didn't have the budget to build a lot of things from scratch. I think that's why the Collar of Esses tech didn't get a unique upgrade effect. It's important as well for feedback for the players. Like when you play against HRE, you can tell the moment they get the heavy maces. because they suddenly are carrying maces. What does that tech do? Collar of S's is basically Atreus heavy maces on House of Lancaster for knights. For knights and demi-lancers specifically. So what it does, as you can see it there, it gives the +6 heavy damage to their strikes. So, put it another way, it's a 25% damage buff against heavy units. It's pretty damn good. 25% doesn't sound like a lot until you remember we're talking about a unit that already has substantial base damage. Oh, and while you got a moment before they fight again, if you want substantial frames, look at that right there. AMD Ryzen's back, baby. Click the link. It's always nice when they actually line up when nothing's happening in game, so you can actually talk about them. I feel like it would take a lot for me to ever switch back off of AMDs these days. Those lads have been doing a lot right for quite some time. Wham might be in a position to do some right himself. He's finally starting to raid out with the knights. Walls are going up though, so B is trying to mirror the move. And also play for some greed. He's going towards the ball. We do have some manners, only 3 so far for B. But he's already padded himself elsewhere with sacred sites and relics. So his economy is actually not too bad. In fact, if we look at income, which is now more important, we can see the food is holding on for the time being for Wham, and that is going to become permanent. Check this. Although he's been gathering berries, he's got a pretty load of farms in there. 17 already. Yeah, I mean, B's mirror here is legitimately just to get 9 manners online, which is going to generate him 540 food a minute. He's got longevity issues. It's not like he has farms coming, because you have to remember that Lancaster isn't truly like English, and what I mean by that is the farms aren't insanely cheap. So what does B now see as his win condition? Because it feels like he had a timing in mind, but Wham done a really good job at surviving it. I wouldn't be surprised if B's goal is to simply build 9 manners and then rush Imperial Age. We've been seeing that build quite a lot out of Lancaster. They look really solid on these fast imp timings. The other thing is also his ability to scale an army. Remember, because of the fact he's spamming manners with Lancaster Castle, he'll be able to get a crap ton of yeomen almost instantly. Great pin there, by the way. A little bit risky use the villagers, but he did body block them up against the building. Brought time to kind of chase in. So gets one of the Gilded Knights. Loses, I think, was that 2 workers in the end? Won't be able to get the other Gilded, though. Wow, now with the full infantry switch. So men-at-arms to follow this up. Isn't that worse than Gilded Knights? So 2 issues here, right? Like, yeomen are very good at kiting. And these knights have got +6 against heavy anyway. So I wonder what the thought process is for Wham. I think it's the gold issue we mentioned before. Like, he's getting some gold over here, but it's out of the base. So at least by going men-at-arms, he's able to be a bit more lean with his gold. And then focus on just using more food. Yeah, I think it's like more of a necessity of economy than a desire. And you know you can't build spears against these knights on their own because spears will just get destroyed by yeomen. Especially with the sync shots. I do like the horseman detail, though. Horseman's really smart. In theory, horsemen should trade better for cost into these knights than Gilded Knights. Because of the lack of effect from the heavy damage. I was thinking raid to block out the gold. He is bumping it. We've got Undermesh coming in as well. He's already got the ranged upgrade. Not really worth getting the melee tech upgrades when you have knights. I mean, if you've got insane amounts of gold, sure, but outside that, it always feels weird to do because knights are already such high base damage. Like, if you get +1 melee tech on a knight, it's equivocal to less than 5% damage buff. So right now, the game has just kind of reached a poke and see what happens stage. There's no all-in from either player. Wham's army is looking pretty decent. Whether he can push in is an entirely different question mark, though. I think it's a bit risky because although he's got these wood walls, there's a lot of knights to burn through them. So for Wham, I think the goal here is just to get into Imperial Age. With Al's back, you can use it to secure the gold in the Sacred Site. In fact, he's already doing it with normal keep, so there's a pretty cool 1-2 play here to an L's back on the east, or maybe just go for the 8k. Villagers are going to get hit up by the yeoman. What is up, Inept? Thank you very much for the Prime sub, mate. Appreciate you, and welcome back to Swarm. Don't we get any Lords of Lancaster? We do occasionally see Lords of Lancaster. It's just the Lancaster castle is so good and robust, it's hard to ever resist. But hopefully more in the future. I think Lancaster's going to need some heavy reworks to it. I love the uniqueness of all their units. It's actually just their economy at the heart of it, which is too polarizing. Check this. A unit that went from polarizing to pretty damn good and fun to see working. It's Springolds. Hated him in the anti-siege role. I quite love them as anti-infantry. Unfortunately, those are not infantry targets. That was insane value. He gets him with the knights. He gets a snipe. And he'll even get them all out. Now, they are heavily injured. And we have to remember that this was not a Regnitz build. It wasn't a Relic Rush. So, Wham doesn't actually have multiple prelates to heal up damage. It's a bit of a negative. In fact, I would have loved to have seen him prep prelates on a delay. So that he can get his hands on his 5 warriors. I don't think that's now going to happen this game. What might happen is a sandwich, though. Good read. Wham saw it coming. Yeah, because there's enough knights here to body block the gate, and then you just get munched. They might get chowed down upon, though. Yeoman. They have got a Sink Shot. It's coming off cooldown in 10 seconds. And this is where actually, like, gates can grief you a lot against Sink Shot, because you cluster up to go in. Kind of saturates the damage. Burnfree's going to begin. We do have villagers trying to dodge. B. Did he get a glimpse of that? That would be huge if so. Doesn't seem like it. He wasn't looking. He does now know about the keep in the center. The Elsbach is going up. And B, he sees it. He knows it's happening. The delete on the wall comes through. Wham looks to chase him away. And B, he was investing in the all-in. So Wham caught him off guard with this play. Yeah, he's going to go to the next stage. While B is still about 2 minutes away from that possibility. Big difference, actually, considering the upgrade timings for Wham. I mean, gold has been difficult for a while to access, but not with this keep drop. And B, he doesn't actually have the ability to stop it right now. Food income is also phenomenal for Wham. He's at 36 farms around Narkin on Order of the Dragon, which means he can keep on pumping these trash tier units, spearmen, horsemen, etc. Speaking of trash siege is on the way. B has to build all the rams. He needs this gone stat. I like the switch into spearmen from him. Going to be really impactful for that negative armor effect. Needs every little bit of help he can get. But my concern right now is while you're pushing into this castle, Wham's pushing into you. With upgrades coming. And on top of that, you just gave him the gold at the front of the base. Yeah, Wham's put B in a very awkward position here where it feels like no matter what move you make as B, Wham's going to get what he needs. Pretty crazy. Time being, though, he's going to focus on denying the big 8k. Dive comes in onto the castle. Cannon placement's going to be there in a matter of seconds. Sink shot. Onto the troopers stab at the back here. We have got the sprint placements, or sprints to try and clear the way. They're doing a good job actually up against these spears. And B, trying to brute force his way through. Villagers are going to start getting cut down, but the castle's still alive, and the knights need to engage on the east side. They hop on in. Horsemen were held in reserve. The yeomen are now target firing into the Gilded crossbows. B, he's almost cleared the castle. It looks like it's going to be crumbling down, but the cannon emplacement has definitely added a lot of power into this. However, Wham, not able to win out, has to retreat. He went into this fight with 0 elite techs. So for all intents and purposes, they were neck and neck on quality. But maybe not for long. B, now that he's done with the castle, can turn his attention towards the base again. That means the gold is about to get idled out. Spearmen have already arrived there. Wham will at least have techs coming in. So it's going to be elite horsemen, elite knights, or elite men-at-arms rather, and elite crossbows. Did he get the space necessary? He still has got almost a 10-worker lead. And B is still not aging up. Honestly, I think despite B looking like he got a pretty damn good fight, Wham's willingness to sacrifice like that just to delay has got him what he really needs. Now, farm clusters are coming in, so realistically over time, B should be able to claw his way up into Imperial. But now his focus is on getting a big win in the fights. Also, going to try to clear up the rams. They're very good at doing that. The gold is being tapped fast. Already down to 1,600 left. Wham, with almost 2,000 gold in reserve, definitely has enough to keep this up for quite some time. Not just that, University techs are viable now. Yeah, especially like elite army tactics here goes a long way. And yeah, I don't know why people are talking Chinese at me. I think they looked at Wham's economy and went, whoa, that looks rich. Must be China. Nah, these are Order of the Dragon numbers, and he is pumping. Not just that, he may be able to achieve the unthinkable. A rare sight here. As B is on the verge of losing this series in game number 4 and missing out on grand finals. Something that has not happened in several weeks. This is wild. I can't believe it's happening, actually. Like, if we go and check the Midweek Musters, in terms of consistency we're talking about here, B has been present in the last 7 grand finals in a row. Last 2, of course, falling victim to Anatan. Oh, sorry, Anatan, then Louis. Before that, on a long win streak, B has become the boogeyman for many people in Midweek Muster, especially with the arrival of a new expansion where new things have to be discovered. But Wham has discovered the answer. He has full control now. It feels like it's a matter of moments here. B is running out of steam fast. He has no ability to get into Imperial Age. He's not got enough troops to hold on. And Wham has damn well done it. Military Academy is now on the way to seal the deal and give him that final push to push our final boss out in semi-finals. Absolutely crazy. And that puts Wham on a collision course for revenge up against potentially Anatan in grand finals, the man who took him out in the last Him show match. I gotta give it to him. Wham is looking scary this week, man. This is an impressive series execution up against B. Village is now being hemorrhaged. B, at this point, is just going through the motions. Absolutely incredible work out of Wham. He seals it in the 4th.